In Canada, we have three major political parties, but also we have other small political parties. We have the third political party called the New Democrats, the New Democratic Party, which is mostly used the abbreviation NDP. In the last election, NDP was decimated, reduced only to 6 seats, and then their leader, Jagmeet Singh, had to resign. Right now, the New Democrats, they went through a leadership review, and they had an interim leader called Don Davis. They had to choose a permanent leader. Avi Lewis was chosen as the National Democratic Party leader, and this gentleman seems to be too much far to the left. Sounds more like a communist to me. I've listed his policies. I don't know whether they are compatible with the capitalism we have and whether they are pragmatic. Avi Lewis is a 58-year-old filmmaker, and he won 56% of the votes, succeeding the interim leader, Don Davis. We are going to look at his policies. They might be too far to the left. He is focusing on climate change. There is this controversy that some of the policies we take on climate change undermine economic growth and out in the hardship of people. Take, for example, here in Canada we have this. The oil sands, there is an argument that they pollute the environment. There is environmental degradation. They are polluting the waters, they are polluting the air. But at the same time, we have millions upon millions of people who depend on these oil sands, the extraction of the oil, the shipping pipeline, because our oil is shipped to the United States. Finally, not forgetting that also thousands, if not millions, of cars or transportation system that depends on the oil which we produce. We have to strike a balance on this issue of climate change and the environment. Another policy focus is social justice and also labor rights, the right for the workers to collective bargaining and also the right to strike. And also his other policies, public ownership and economic reform. His economic reform, he's putting emphasis on transitioning away from fossil fuels, from these hydrocarbons, which we use in our cars and burn them in order to move us from one point to the other. I don't know how soon can he achieve that without disrupting the economy, without making life hard for everybody. Climate change and energy policy on his. He is advocating for a Green Deal for Canada, aiming to create sustainable jobs while reducing carbon emissions. And then we go to another point. Labor and employment. He wants to expand union membership, sectoral bargaining on labor rights. Avi Lewis, he expanding union membership and also encouraging sectoral, and wants to protecting the right to strike for the workers. In Canada, workers are allowed to strike, but in certain essential industries, then the government can go to parliament and vote on the back to work order. That means it now nullifies the strike. If you are seen strike in the aftermath of back to work order, then it will be illegal, then you'll be liable prosecution. And he wants creating a national worker ownership fund. He wants to encourage some workers to own the companies, to have an ownership in the companies which they work for. Right now, there are certain companies that encourage you to buy their shares so that you become partly an owner of that company. And always, if you own something, obviously you treat it as yours and you'll be more committed and more hardworking. But Avi Lewis wants to create a national worker ownership fund. I don't know whether that is feasible. On social and economic, public grocery stores to lower food prices. He wants public grocery stores to lower food prices. He hasn't said much how he's going to achieve that. But as I said, that in economics, price is determined by the factors of production. And also, of course, companies have to make a bit of profit for their shareholders. so that we do that for the stock of that company to go up and the shareholders keep on investing in that company. Capitalist system we have that companies publicly owned by individuals or institutions that buy shares into that company. And these institutions and individuals like myself, if I buy a share of different companies, I'm buying those shares with anticipation that the company will keep on making profits and their stock keeps on going up, and at the end I'll sell that stock and make a profit. But now he says he wants public groceries to lower food prices. Also wants public banking to provide accessible financial services. I think right now, banks, they do provide accessible financial services. Banking services in Canada is not that expensive. Some banks charges $20 per every quarter for a checking account. And he wants public telecom network. Telecommunication in Canada is in the hands of the private companies, like which companies traded, like Bell Canada here owns the public network, and also we have Rogers Communication. Public telecom network, probably he is proposing quasi-government entity or a crown corporation that will own the telecommunication network. Sounds very communist to me. That is like we take the economy from the hands of the private sector into the hands of the government. He wants to control rentals and at the same time while taking the initiative to build public housing. For those who are watching at Canada, in Canada we have subsidized housing, which is for income people to rent, and he's saying he's going to encourage to build millions of these public, while he also, like on other rentals, they will be controlled. But from an economic point of view, I have problems with that. Prices, they're supposed to be determined by the laws of supply and demand. As a government, we can facilitate the buildings of more housing, of more rental units. Right now, there are certain barriers. The land servicing, when I did another video, I talked to these land developers. They were saying the barrier to be building more houses is the servicing fees are very high. If we lower the servicing fees, we encourage these companies that build rental units to build more units, flood the markets with the rental units, and then that will reduce the price. The more the supply with the demand remaining constant, then the price will go down. Simple laws of supply and demand. But he is proposing that price will be nationally controlled to a certain price that you can't charge beyond this. This is why I'm saying like this man sounds communist to me. Because in communism we talk of price control. We ask you to subscribe to this channel for more of this information. We are continuing with the policies of Avi Lewis, the new leader of the New Democratic Party of Canada, the new leader of the NDP on healthcare. Avi is proposing a comprehensive coverage from medication. Right now, our health system, for those who are watching outside, our health system, we don't pay in our hospitals or even in private clinic. You give them your health card, which is issued by the province you live in, and they get their money from the government. But then if you go and buy a prescription, you have to pay. We pay for the prescription for the medication. Now here, Avi is proposing a comprehensive coverage of medication, that everything be covered by the government, also including mental health. There are certain services which we have to pay out of pocket if you don't have the insurance. But in certain cases, a lot of companies, including the company which I work for, we have insurances which we claim. If at one time I had to do physio, I was claiming from the insurance. Improve the elder and long-term care. The long-term care facilities like the homes, people have to pay out of their pocket. In some cases, you have to take an insurance called long-term care insurance, which I talked about in my other video on insurances. Then if you move into a long-term care facilities, then that insurance pays. Avi here is suggesting that the government should take care of that. And he also is proposing an expanded and enhanced child care services. Right now we have a $10 per day daycare proposed by the federal government. There are certain people, if you have a little one, you take them to some of these daycares. Mommy and daddy, they are at work, and then you pick up your kid at the end of the day. Daycare tends to be very expensive in Canada, privately. But there are certain government daycares which charges like $10 per day. He is saying he is going to be expanding and enhancing childcare services. On taxation and economic equity, Avi is proposing to be a modern day rob the rich and give to the poor. Hey, give me your money. Give me your money right now. Give me your money, take it and give it to that poor. He is going to be taxing the ultra rich through their nose, and also he's going to be ending corporate handout. Sometimes the government in Canada, they do issue some money to subsidize certain companies in certain sectors, and also to subsidize certain companies which might be having difficulties in certain areas to protect the jobs in these sectors. He is saying Avi is going to end that, and he is also going to end the monopolies and maybe encourage other players to enter that industry. He hasn't issued the details on how he's going to do that. Let's move to his foreign policy. His foreign policy and social justice. He is suggesting strong stance on international human rights. Like we all know, the Palestinian and opposes the wars that are destabilizing global economies. Only, I think he has made some statements on the rights of the Palestinians, which I agree with, but which alienated some of the Jews in Canada and see him as being anti-Semitic. The Palestine has the right to exist, and he's opposed to this ongoing American aggression around the world. The world has never known any peace because of the United States of America, which is perpetually fighting. They have to start a war here, start a war there, and kill people. Go to Iran and bomb some children in schools. Fly some airplanes thousands of kilometers to go and bomb children. Also proposing justice for immigrants and refugees and other marginalized communities. And he also has to reform immigration processes. As I think I have a video which I talked about immigration, and also which I talked about refugees, which are sponsored refugees and other refugees seeking persecution in certain countries. As I said, our immigration system was at one time bringing more and more people, but correspondingly no houses were being built as to accommodate them. That exacerbated the affordability crisis which we're currently grappling with. It increases the price because if there are more people competing for few goods, the higher the demand and supply remaining constant, and then the price goes up. He also wants to end this exploitative work permit. I talked about it in the immigration that we have people who come from certain countries, mostly like to work in our farms. Mostly they come from these Latin American countries, in most cases from Mexico. And then they work in the farms, and at the end of the farming season, they go back to their country. So Avi is suggesting to end this practice. He says it is exploiting other people. So party renewals and governments, now that he has taken the party, Lewis aims to rebuild the NDP as a broad lefty populist party. He wants to renew the party so that it gains more seats. It has a poor performance in the previous election. I think partly there were a lot of people who were talking of voting strategically as to stop Yev from being a prime minister. They moved from voting for his party to voting for the Liberal. Then controversies and challenges. His energy policies sparked problem already in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Because as I said before, that if you take a radical approach a radical change to this energy or oil sands. We have millions and millions of people who depend on that.
During his victory speech, newly elected federal NDP leader Avi Lewis told supporters his party is back.
Elsewhere in Canada, this party is united in our commitment to working people.
But before his speech was even over, some of his provincial counterparts were already saying no thanks. Posting on social media, Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi criticizing the federal NDP leader, noting his ideals aren't exactly in line with the interests of Alberta.
One of the comments below it from like a provincial NDP member who is very committed to the federal NDP said that they were disappointed and Nenshi couldn't even wait for Lewis to finish his victory speech before posting that. But so that suggests that this was thought out.
Nenshi added that Alberta believes in Canadian energy and the jobs it creates, and that federal leaders from every party need to understand Alberta's essential role within federation.
He's always been known as an activist. He identifies as a democratic socialist, and so he's not the kind of moderate that his predecessors were known for.
Premier Danielle Smith also posting about the newly elected leader, trying to connect the two men while rebuffing Lewis's anti-pipeline messaging.
It's going to have some effectiveness, but it's going to be most effective among people who probably weren't going to vote for the NDP anyway.
While Albertans aren't expected to head to the polls until October of next year, analysts say voters should see this for what it is.
We need to remember that there's a lot of theater around leadership races, the result, and how different parties and different politicians react to it.
Lewis won the leadership vote with 56% in the first round. Heather McPherson from Edmonton Strathcona came in second with 29%.
If you wake up tomorrow and say, no more oil change, thousands will be out of work and then millions will be effect. Like people working in the oil sands, there are schools built around the oil sands, there are grocery stores built around the oil sands, and all those jobs will disappear overnight. And so they are crying foul on his energy. The bottom line, which is impressive, economic reform, climate action, labor empowerment, and the public ownership, aiming to reposition the NDP as a strong left-wing alternative in Canadian politics. We thank you for watching this video and please subscribe.